Welcome to Jim Rohn Treasures, where timeless wisdom blends into your modern journey. There's something I learned quite late, and if only I had known it sooner, I probably wouldn't have lost so many years of my life simply because I was living without truly being awake. You know, time has a frighteningly silent way of moving. It never makes a sound when it leaves you. You only realize it's gone when you look back and see yourself still standing in the exact same place, with the same old worries, the same old habits, and the same dreams still tucked away in a drawer. I remember one night, when I was young, sitting alone in my small rented room. The clock showed 1:47 a.m. I felt tired, but not sleepy. Tired because I knew I was wasting my life, but had no idea where to begin changing. My biggest fear at the time wasn't not having enough money, luck, or opportunity. My biggest fear was knowing that tomorrow might look exactly like today. And then I realized a truth that later became a compass in my life. People don't lose their lives in a single day. They lose them 1 minute at a time. It's not the big failures that break us. It's the moments we let ourselves sink into worry, into procrastination, into meaningless conversations, into things that don't nourish our future. Have you ever felt that way? The feeling that you were born for more, but you're stuck in things that are far too small? The feeling that time is passing so fast while you can't seem to keep up? If you're there, don't worry, because the end of today's video just might change the way you see yourself and the way you use every remaining minute of your life. There's a truth I only had the courage to face many years later. People don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they know, but they don't do it. What causes us to miss out on life isn't a lack of opportunity, but the tiny distractions we assume are harmless. One moment of procrastination, one mindless scroll, one pointless conversation, one evening sinking into exhaustion and saying, "I'll do it tomorrow," and then tomorrow becomes a copy of today. Let me tell you this: time never steals a whole day from you. It only borrows minutes, and if you don't pay attention, it will take your entire self. The root of the problem is that we don't truly see how time flows. You can see money in your wallet. You can see gas in your tank. You can see food on your table. But no one sees time. We only feel it when it's gone. I used to think I just needed to try harder. But then one day I realized people don't need more effort. People need more awareness. Think about it. The moments you waste, they don't arrive loudly. They drift in quietly like a breath, a phone notification, an unimportant message, a little curiosity that leads you to open YouTube, TikTok, and just 5 minutes becomes an hour. These moments are like tiny holes in the bottom of a bucket. No one sees the water leaking out until one day you look down and realize the bucket is empty. And then people ask me, "Jim, why does my life keep repeating? Why can't I move forward?" I once asked the exact same question, and the answer shocked me. Because I was spending my energy to live, not to move forward. Living just to get through the day. Living to be okay for now. Living to breathe enough. But not living to build. We're not tired because we do too much. We're tired because we do too many things that don't matter. And far too few things that actually create change. The root isn't whether you're busy or not. The root is, what are you busy with? Some people are busy checking what others think of them. Some are busy worrying about things that haven't happened. Some are busy blaming circumstances. Some are busy dragging along relationships that no longer nourish them. All of that is like running on a treadmill. You sweat, you're tired, you're exhausted, but you're still in the same place. And then I understood, time doesn't reward the tired. Time rewards the aligned. You can work 10 hours a day, but if 9 of those hours go to things that lead nowhere, you still lose. Not because you're not hardworking, but because you're not aware. One evening, I sat watching the sunset behind my farm. I realized the sunset always arrives on time, no matter what I do. It doesn't wait for me to be ready. It doesn't wait for me to be stable. It doesn't wait for me to change. It just passes gently but decisively. Time is the same. It doesn't get angry. It doesn't threaten you. It doesn't blame you. It just goes. And it takes with it everything you didn't do. The root of the problem lies in something quiet but real. You're not afraid of running out of time. You're afraid of realizing you haven't lived up to your potential when time is almost gone. And that is exactly why we must start today. Not to do more, but to live more meaningfully 1 minute at a time. Let me tell you a very real story, a part of my life I'm not always ready to share. Because it's not pretty, not inspiring, not the image of a teacher. It's just a period of my life where I let time slip through my fingers like water. I was in my early 20s. In my head, I had a big dream to become successful, to become someone with influence, to become someone who could take care of my family. But in reality, I had nothing but an ordinary job, an old car, an empty wallet, and a heart full of anxiety. Every morning I woke up with a heavy feeling. I didn't hate my job, I hated the repetition. Every day felt the same. A wheel spinning endlessly without knowing where it was going. And each evening, I fell into another loop. Tired turn on the TV, watch random shows, tell myself, tomorrow I'll change, then go to sleep without changing a thing. I lived like that for months. Tired not because I worked too hard, but because I had no idea what I was living for. Time moved, and I stood still. Then one summer evening, everything changed. I came home late after a long day. I cooked something simple, then sat in the old wooden chair by the window. Outside, the wind blew softly. The air was warm, a bit dusty, but quiet in a way that forces you to think about your life. I turned off the TV. I didn't want any more noise. I sat there, my back slightly aching, my hands clasped together, and I looked at my own hands. They had begun to harden, but inside I was growing weaker. You know that feeling, don't you? The feeling that you were born to do more, but every day you live below your own expectations. The feeling of looking back on your week and not remembering a single important thing you did. The feeling that time is moving fast, but you aren't growing fast enough to match it. That night, I asked myself a simple question that almost squeezed my heart. If I keep living like this for 5 more years, who will I become? The answer chilled me. I would become a worse version of myself. More tired, more sad, more self-blaming, and with nothing in my hands but age. That was the first time in my life I truly saw time not as minutes passing, but as my future dissolving. I stood up. I didn't know why, but my feet took me outside to the porch. The sky was fully dark. The street lamp's soft yellow glow fell on the ground like shimmering streaks of time. I looked up. No stars, just a vast black space as if asking me, what do you want? What are you living for? Then a memory returned, something a mentor once told me, though at the time I didn't understand it. Jim, if you don't choose to change, life will change you. I stood there for a long time, 10, maybe 15 minutes. No TV, no phone, no small talk, just me and time. And for the first time in my life, I felt time was precious. Not precious because it was passing, but because I realized I had never lived in a way worthy of it. That night, I went back inside, sat at my table, and wrote one sentence, the sentence that started everything for me. Tomorrow is not allowed to look like today. Not a big plan, not a breakthrough, just a small promise, but I kept it. And you know what the miracle is? When a person begins to respect every minute of their life, life begins to respect them back. There's something I've learned after years of observing people and observing myself, a truth that sounds light, but if you truly understand it, it can change the way you live the rest of your life. Life is not destroyed by big, wrong decisions. Life is eroded by small, quiet habits. People don't lose their future in a storm. They lose it drop by drop in a drizzle no one notices. Look back and you'll see no one wakes up sluggish after just one night. No one suddenly loses motivation. No one becomes someone they don't want to face in the mirror in just a day. It all begins with tiny things. One moment of procrastination. One, it's probably fine. One time choosing comfort over growth. One time listening to fear. One compromise with what you know is wrong. Those one times link together like chains, and before you know it, you've tied yourself up. I used to think change came from big things, a big decision, a big event, a big opportunity, but the truth is, big things only happen when you're aware enough to make the small things right every day. Let me share an image with you. There was a farmer I once knew. He cared for his apple orchard every morning, watering, pulling weeds, checking each leaf. Some days he only removed a few worm-eaten leaves, pulled a small patch of weeds. It seemed like nothing. I asked him, "How does picking just a few leaves each morning keep your orchard so healthy?" He smiled and said, "Jim, pests never attack all at once. They attack a little at a time. If you let one small weed grow, one day it becomes an entire patch." That sentence stayed with me for years because I realized time is like a garden. What you don't handle will handle you. A fear you don't face becomes a wall blocking you. A negative voice you hear too long becomes a deep-rooted weed. A toxic relationship you keep too long becomes an anchor dragging you down. A day without purpose becomes a month slipping away. And the most dangerous part, it all happens quietly. No alarms, no warning sign. No one wakes you up saying, "Hey, your life is being eaten away." No. Time just stands there, gentle, silent, and takes what you don't protect. The most powerful insight I want you to understand is this. Time is not the thief. We lose time to the things we allow to stay. Not because you're weak, not because you're incapable, but because you haven't realized one important truth. What you allow will continue. If you allow distraction, it will continue. If you allow fear to lead, it will continue. If you allow others to control your emotions, they will continue. If you allow yourself to live vaguely, the vagueness will continue. But if you stop, look at your life with honesty, painful but necessary, you'll see. You have the power to change everything, starting this very minute. Because life doesn't favor those who only wish. Life favors those who awaken. And that awakening, it's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't need a declaration. It's simply the moment you admit, "I've let time slip for too long, and from now on, I will live differently." 1 minute of realization, 1 minute of sincerity, 1 minute of pausing to look deeply within can save the rest of your life. When I began to change my life, I didn't start with big plans, not with grand goals, and not with promises that even I knew I wouldn't keep. I started with things so small that almost no one would notice. But it was those very small things that turned my whole journey around. I remember one very early morning. The sky was still hanging in a deep shade of blue. The air was cold and damp, the kind of cold that wakes you up even before you've had a single sip of coffee. I sat by a wooden table, blank sheets of paper laid out in front of me, and I asked myself a question that seemed simple. If today had only one thing that could move me closer to the future I want, what would that one thing be? Just one thing. Not 10, not a long list that would suffocate me. Just one. And the surprising thing was, every single day had such a thing. No day was empty. No day was meaningless. Time always has room for the one who knows what they want. And then I discovered something. Time doesn't like the greedy, but it deeply favors the patient. If you try to cram too many things in, it will reject you. But if you choose the right thing at the right time, in the right rhythm, it opens doors you once thought only existed in books. Changing reality begins with the lightest thing. In the morning, I stopped turning on the TV. I stopped grabbing my phone right away. I gave a few minutes to silence. And strangely, that silence was exactly what I had been missing for years. It was like a mirror in the front porch. When the dust settles, you see yourself more clearly. Then I learned how to say no. No to conversations that didn't nourish me. No to promises I knew I couldn't or shouldn't keep. No to invitations I knew would steal my energy. Not because I wanted to cut myself off from the world, but because I wanted to be fully present for the things that truly matter. And then I got used to something I used to be terrified of: silence. We often think only action creates results. But sometimes it's silence that shows us how far we've gone off track. No one truly grows up in noise. Growth happens when you dare to sit alone, face a life with no filters, no applause, no one directing you. Another evening, I remember stepping out to the porch after finishing a few lines in my notebook. The night was deep. There was the smell of dry wood, grass, and the scent of a day that had just passed a day I had lived with intention. I looked up at the sky and thought, so this is it. Change doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing better. That's how reality works. You don't need 8 straight hours to rebuild your life. Sometimes you only need 10 minutes of true awareness. 10 minutes to pause and ask yourself, is what I'm doing really taking me where I want to go? Or am I just staying busy to avoid feeling that I'm not growing? Life is very fair in one way. It always gives you back exactly what you plant with each minute. If you plant vagueness, you receive confusion. If you plant procrastination, you receive opportunities slipping through your fingers. If you plant awareness, you receive shifts you once thought you were not good enough to achieve. I'm not asking you to change your life in one night. I only want you to give yourself 1 minute right now to ask, in what way will my tomorrow be different from today? Just one way. Small but real. Small but steady. Small but repeated every day. That is how time becomes your ally instead of a silent enemy. There is a philosophy I learned after many years of observing my own life and the lives of those who came before me. Life doesn't pay you fairly by the day, life pays you by the season. And most of our pain comes from not understanding the season we're in. When I was young, I wanted everything immediately. I wanted results right after I started. I wanted success before I deserved it. But life does not move at the speed of your desires. It moves at the speed of your growth. If you plant a seed in the ground and come back the next day expecting it to sprout, you'll be disappointed. But the problem isn't the seed. The problem is the expectation. You're demanding harvest season right in the middle of planting season. And the truth is, many people don't fail because they do things wrong. They fail because they quit before their season arrives. Time has a language not everyone is patient enough to hear. It never says no. It only says, not yet. I once asked my mentor, why is it that I work hard, but the results are still slow? He looked at me and said, Jim, you don't need to work harder. You need to understand which season you're in. That sentence took me years to truly absorb. There are seasons when you must till the soil. There are seasons when you must plant seed. There are seasons when you must pull weeds, water, and protect your land from storms. And only when you've gone through enough of those seasons do you reach harvest. No one harvests before they mature. No one reaps before they sow. No one becomes strong before going through lonely days. And there is another philosophy I want you to remember. Life doesn't reward the rushed. Life rewards the consistent. Hurry is an emotion. Consistency is a strength. People often judge their lives by the day. Today I'm tired. Today I failed. Today I got distracted. But time doesn't judge you by the day. It judges you by your direction. You can move slowly, very slowly. But if you're going in the right direction, you're still moving forward. You can stumble, you can be tired, you can stop to rest. But if you don't turn back, you're still on the way. You can be afraid, but if you still take one small step, you are creating a future you never dared to imagine. There is a philosophy I learned from watching the rice fields in the early mornings. Seeds don't need noise to grow. They only need enough light and enough patience. People are the same. You don't need to look strong. You don't need anyone to understand how hard you're trying. You just need enough stillness to nurture the person you're becoming. And there is one more thing it took me a long time to understand. Time doesn't heal everything. Time only heals if you know how to use it. If you avoid time, will make your fears bigger. If you delay time, will push your dreams further away. But if you use each minute to correct yourself, to learn, to grow, to act, time becomes your strongest ally. Life can take many things away, money, opportunities, relationships, luck, but there is one thing it always gives back to those who live rightly: value. Value from the person you become. Value from the discipline you've built. Value from the clarity you gain through long nights of self-reflection. Value from knowing what you want and knowing what you will no longer accept. Because in the end, success is not something you chase. Success is something you attract by the person you become, one season at a time. There is a moment in life that everyone will eventually face, the moment you look straight at yourself and realize no one is responsible for your future but you. Not circumstances, not your childhood, not the economy, not the people who hurt you, only you. And when that moment comes, it doesn't arrive with applause. It comes in silence. a silence big enough for you to hear your own life passing by. I've stood in that moment, and I remember thinking, if I don't do something right now, I will look back on my life with a regret that nothing will ever wash away. I don't want you to wait until your heart feels that heavy to change. You don't need to lose more years to realize you're worth more than the minutes you're wasting. You don't need to wait for another new season to start becoming the person you know you can be. Because the truth is, you're not short on time. You're short on the decision to start this very minute. Think about this. How many times have you told yourself you would change? How many times have you made plans and then let them sleep in a drawer? How many times have you said, I'll do it tomorrow, only to watch tomorrow arrive while you're still standing in the same place? It's not that you don't know what to do. You just haven't dared to say one powerful sentence. I am responsible. When someone lays that sentence down in their life, everything changes. Not because the world changes. They change. And when they change, the world has to adjust. I want you to picture this. There are two people inside you. One is weak, easily pulled around by fear, by old habits, by negative voices. The other is stronger than you think, the one who knows you were born to do more than this, to become more than this, to live a life that no longer asks permission from fear. If you just give that stronger self a chance, just one chance, your life will change direction. And this is the moment I want you to give that self a chance. If this part resonates with you, leave a in the comments. Not for me, but for yourself, as a promise to the stronger version inside you that says, I'm ready to step out of the old cycle, ready to reclaim every minute you've dropped along the way, ready to begin, even if you're scared, even if you're unsure, even if you're not perfect yet. Because you don't need to be perfect to start, you only need to start to become extraordinary. And before we end, I want you to hold on to one sentence, a sentence that changed the course of my life. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Become the person who takes back every minute of their life. Become the person who lives with intention. Become the person who is more awake than they were yesterday. Become the person you can be proud of when you look in the mirror. If you've come this far, I know you are one of those who won't accept an ordinary life. And I'm proud of you. Thank you for being here. If this video has given you a new perspective, a spark, or even just one clear minute, hit like so I know I'm on the right track. Subscribe so you don't miss the next part of this journey. And answer this in the comments. What is the first thing you will change starting tomorrow? I'll read every answer. And I hope you will begin today to rebuild your own life. Because time is passing, and it's time for you to live as the person you were born to become.